Now to our first story. Legal practitioner Victoria Bright says she is disappointed in suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu's public criticism of the ongoing impeachment proceedings. The CJ on Wednesday argued in a presser that the secrecy of the process was unjustified as the allegations against her involved no national security concerns. Reacting on News 5, Victoria Bright argued the CJ's action disregarded constitutional protocols under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution.
I would have wished that she had respected the constitutional procedures or the procedures that emanate from Article 146 that have been put together, and respected the fact that these proceedings are supposed to be held in camera. And so I don't really understand, although I hear her reasons, and if they are true, of course, we will all be concerned about them, but we are only hearing from her side at the moment. And it's the whole point not to put these issues in front of these eminent people who, when you look at the panel, there are some very eminent people there, people who understand presenting your case, looking at the facts, looking at the issues, and then making decisions based on what is presented before them. So would it not have been better for her to, as someone who is a Chief Justice of this nation, to respect the Constitution and actually wait and let the hearing go through and then talk to us if she felt the need to talk to us? I mean, you said we'll examine it in detail, but my initial reaction is no, I don't think she should have gone to that extent.
On his part, Deputy Ranking Member, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, Hassin Tetteh, questioned why the CJ's lawyers were not given audience in some aspects of the hearing.
In the absence of the person, the lawyer should be given a hearing. Any attempt not to allow the lawyer is an attempt to deny the person. Because it says that if I am not available, this is the person who is my proxy, who is my agent. In the event that he's not able to respond to some issues, and I need to be there, then I'll be there.
Remember, this is in context. Let's put it in context. Is that this is the first meeting.
That is the first meeting.
Yeah. And the lawyer shows up and she is absent. Will it be the same?
I think that, you see, you have to admit and then accept the person on record, at the very least, because I have announced myself that I'm the lawyer on record. You will send counsel to courts, and then on some occasions, a different lawyer comes in. In fact, in some instances, somebody completely different becomes, a friend of the court or comes to the aid of the accused persons, or even parties in court. We do that all the time, all right? But in this particular instance, the person is not the meddlesome interloper. He has been properly, instructed to represent the Chief Justice, and the person is there. So I think that it was wrong for the committee not to have given the lawyer audience.
Convener of One Ghana movement, Senyo Hosi, who acknowledged there are legitimate concerns about the CJ's conduct, also expressed disappointment in Gertrude Tokonu's conduct.
I got into the whole party quite late. I must say I am disappointed. I find it quite unfortunate. But I do agree also that, however the case is also an expression of the democratic principles that we all are allowed to exercise to some extent. But the act of discretion also brings the need for a lot of discretion when you hold public office cannot be lost on us. And I think there are quite some legitimate concerns around the conduct of the Chief Justice. That said, like me, irrespective of the matter, the merits of the conversation would still stand if legitimate.
The countdown is over. Tonight at 7 p.m., the EcoBank head office in Accra becomes the stage for Ghana's unsung heroes and heroines as the JoyNews Impact Makers Awards 2025 honors them. But one question hangs in the air. Who will be crowned the overall Impact Maker of the Year? LCSEdu has more in this report.
For 3 years, JoyNews has established the platform to give exposure to the everyday Ghanaian doing the extraordinary stuff. These are community champions, changing lives one step at a time. Now it's time to celebrate them. Will it be the public health officer saving lives in remote areas, a female entrepreneur using innovation to empower women, a grassroots educator fighting illiteracy, or someone who's made quiet, powerful impact behind the scenes?
The best gift you can give to a child is to give the child education. So you don't want any child to be roaming on the street, not going to school. So that is why I decided to set up a charity school so that nothing will be an obstacle for this child.
At Photo for Change, our powerful social visual storytelling for the Death Project initiatives by providing camera and accessories to empower deaf students through photography and video storytelling.
Over a decade now, we've been working to ensure that women, children, persons living with disability have access to basic social amenities.
What sets apart the Impact Maker of the Year is not simple popularity or profile. It's about sustained influence, courageous leadership, and an ability to build something greater than themselves out of very little resources. Past winners have gone on to become national advisors, global speakers, and mentors to the next wave of change makers.
It was a very beautiful opportunity, a very beautiful platform that gave us a lot of exposure. It really increase our visibility after living and receiving the awards. And I also congratulate all the GMA Network 2023 batch 2024 for the amazing works they are doing. Some of us have gotten the opportunity to be nominated for this year's Nelson Mandela's Fellowship.
Tonight, one name will rise. It may be your neighbor, a mentor, a family member, or your co-worker. Join us live at 7 p.m. on JoyNews, Joy FM, and across all our social media platforms for this exciting moment. JoyNews Impact Maker Award, celebrating ordinary people making extraordinary impact.
Most definitely, we'll be showing live at 7 p.m. tonight on the JoyNews channel. Away from that, the Chief of the Army Staff, Major General Lawrence Kweku Gbetano, has assured the overlord of the Wa State and the people of the Upper West region of his commitment to enhancing the operational capacity of the 10 mechanized battalion stationed in the region. Major General Lawrence Gbetano speaking at the Wana's Palace, where he called on the overlord of the Wala State, Naf Hussein Usaidu Palpo IV, as part of his tour to army units in the country, commended the Wala overlord for the continuous support and promise to deepen their operations in the region.
Lawrence Kweku Gbetano, since he assumed the reins of the position of the Chief of Army Staff in March 2025, has been touring army units in the country not only to familiarize and interact with the troops, but to meet and engage with government and local authorities. This week, he has been in the northern Gulf of the country, meeting with relevant stakeholders that includes government officials and traditional rulers. On arrival at Wa late Wednesday night, Major General Lawrence Kweku Gbetano met with the Upper West Regional Minister Charles Wonga Puozun Esquire before rolling into the Wana's Palace to call on the overlord of the Wala State, Naf Hussein Usaidu IV. He was accompanied there by the General Officer Commandant, Northern Command, Brigadier General Frank Wolanyo Agwego, and Commander Rare of the 10 Mechanized Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Obrempom Kodwa. He was welcomed into the palace on behalf of the Wana by the Chief of Katwa, Na Osman Kondarabuwa.
We also give you the necessary support and whatever necessary that we will do here, because we are at very close to the border. And therefore, see something and say something is something that the overlord cherishes. That any time that we see anything that can bring insecurity to the region and to the whole country as a whole, will be notified.
The Chief of the Army Staff, Major General Lawrence Kweku Betonu, spoke about the cooperation between traditional rulers and the Ghana Armed Forces, and then also commending the War Overlord for the continuous support they have been given to the armed forces over the years.
Also want to thank him for accepting the military forces in war over the period. The briefings I had from them and what I even had over here speaks of very deepened collaboration and support between the traditional leaders, the citizens, and then the officers and the soldiers over here. I want to assure the overlord that this collaboration and support between the traditional leaders, the citizens, and then the officers and the soldiers over here would be deepened.
He also assured the War Overlord of giving every support needed by the Ghana Armed Forces to deal with any situation right in the Upper West region.
And also further want to assure him that for the soldiers even protecting his palace and other places, whatever we have to do to enhance the operational efficiency for them to perform their tasks very well, we will do it as an institution. And then to further call on him that he should still continue to give that support to the 10 mechanized battalion that is deployed in his current location.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Participants at the Constitutional Review meeting in the Upper West region have proposed, amongst other, the elections of regional ministers, putting a cap to the age limit of persons who want to vie for president of Ghana and giving enforcement powers to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Others are of the view that the decentralization process should be done in a way that MDCEs could be elected so that it will bring mutual respect between local authorities and central government.
The stakeholder consultative meeting on the constitutional review for the Upper West region brought together diverse sections of the population that included politicians from all sides of the political divide, municipal and district chief executives, the judiciary, the bar, the clergy, paramount chiefs, security service commanders, and personnel, heads of decentralized agencies, civil society organizations, and pre-teenagers. They presented wide range of issues of local and national concerns, ranging from decentralization, cutting the age limit of the president, appointment of judges, and giving enforcement powers to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice.
And sometimes when we finish some of the cases, our decisions are not taken seriously. But if we are given the opportunity to enforce our decisions, I think we will be biting enough, and then we will go a long way to strengthen and fighting corruption in the system like other institutions.
But the most difficult job of the Republic of Ghana is the presidency. Why do we allow people whose powers are diminished at 80, 85, and 90 to become the president of the Republic of Ghana? At that age, if they were here, they would sleep. They get up in the morning, a cocktail of drugs to put you on the road. But this is the most difficult job you have to do. So my suggestion is that we should put a cap on who becomes the president of the Republic of Ghana. Nobody should be about 75 years who will be the president of this republic.
And I feel that we should have proper decentralization. And if we are going to have proper decentralization, my municipality too should be truly decentralized. And we should be able to elect our MC, whether it is elected on the partisan line or elected on the current system. We should elect them. And once we elect them, If the central government is withholding common fund due my municipality, we can actually sue them in the High Court and demand that our common fund be released so that we can have mutual accountability where local authorities can hold central government accountable. The central government can also hold local authorities accountable.
A former member of the Council of State, Bruna Sedu Brima, who arguably is the longest served district chief executive in the country, proposed for the election of regional ministers.
Position of the regional minister. Currently, they say he supervises and coordinate and evaluate the activities of DCs. We are tempted to think that the regional minister's position should be elective. Somebody will ask, how are we going to elect him? Our view is that we constitute an electoral college to elect him. So that when he is elected, then he too will now have the capacity to supervise the district chief executives.
Others also spoke of the need to improve local governance and issues of domestic violence. Chairman of the Constitutional Review Commission, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, in evaluating the engagement, noted that he was impressed with the quality of the presentation.
We will reflect the opinion we have gathered. Now, what I cannot guarantee you is whether 80% or 90% or 50% of them will go through. But on some of the key issues, I think there's already national consensus on reform of local government. Everybody does not like or is not happy with the current system of local government. Everybody almost thinks the country is too centralized. Power is and resources are too concentrated in Accra. Our local communities are really dying. We need to really balance the development in the country, resource local communities better. So local government, clearly, we are going to see some significant reform in that area.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is calling for the Health Minister, Attorney General and the Bank of Ghana Governor, Dr. Johnson Isiama, to appear before the House to address pressing issues. These include the recent COVID-19 scare at the University of Ghana and the public's outrage over a viral video showcasing a gay couple's activities at the Black Star Square. The minority wants these officials to provide explanations and answer questions on these matters, holding them accountable for their actions and policies. James Aveji has more in this report.
After a long protest against Speaker's ruling not to allow any further debate on the business statement for next week, leadership of the House finally agreed to allow members to offer comments and suggestions on issues of concerns, which may be included in the following week's business of the House. The minority raised concerns ranging the gay couple saga, the University of Ghana COVID-19 scare, and the PURC's electricity tariff increase, calling for the various ministers to be hauled to address the matters.
A limited incidence of COVID-19. The University of Ghana have had a course to put out an official release. We don't want to dread what the country went through sometime. We should make an arrangement and get the minister, the sector minister, Honorable Akando, to come and do the needful. The minister, we want the PRC executive secretary to be here at the committee of the whole. And then you also left out the BOG. I don't know if it is, I know it is inadvertent. So the BOG boss should also come to the committee of the whole. That's important.
Mr. Speaker, you could see from our colleagues, when I raised issue about LBGT, now they are going to sleep. Are you in support of LBGT? Is it the case that the government now is supporting LBGT? Or is it the case that you are not supporting it? Because I am raising a serious matter that 3 days ago, 2 men were kissing at the Independence Square. There are videos and pictures to that effect. And you are pretending as if you haven't seen it.
Against this LGBT thing,
When are you going to, Minister for Gender, when are you going to bring that bill? The anti-LGBT bill that you spoke so much about. You said you were going to deal with it. Honorable Minister, today you are bringing the social protection.
Honorable Minority
When
Leader,
are you going to bring that bill to?
Honorable Minority Leader, that is why you are not in charge of government business.
The Minority Whip, Frank Anodompe, also reiterated the call for government to bring the Daman mining lease agreement to Parliament for ratification.
3 weeks now, we still don't have the Daman, Goldfields Daman mining lease agreement being brought. What is the reason? Why? I don't understand. This is a constitutional call. Why is the executive turning a blind eye? What is there? What is in that particular agreement that they cannot bring it for us to assess? What is there?
Here is the Majority Leader, Mahama Yarige's response.
PURC and the tariff adjustments. You call on us to invite PURC, but I think that it is the Energy Minister and Green Transition that we should be invited to come and brief the House. We labored to pass a legislation on the matter, and the former president refused to sign it. He refused to sign it. He refused to sign it. He refused to sign it. And I'm surprised that my colleagues on this side, at that time, we didn't hear their voices on the refusal of the president to sign it. We did not hear their voices. Suddenly they have found their voices and want to pretend that they are the chief advocates of LGBTQ, anti-LGBTQ matters in this country. When it mattered most to fight the menace, where were you? When it mattered most, when you had the numbers and you were the majority and you were the ruling government, where were you?
A number of the sector ministers will appear before Parliament next week to provide some answers in Parliament House in Accra. I am James Abeji for Joy News.
Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is pushing for a major overhaul of the current system regulating political party financing in Ghana. According to the Director of Strategy Research and Communication Division at the OSP, Hassin Tetteh, the current structure where the Electoral Commission plays the dual role of organizing elections and overseeing political party finances can amount to potential conflict of interest. The OSP wants an independent body established with the sole responsibility of overseeing the financing of political parties. The following report has more.
At present, the Electoral Commission is responsible for both organizing and supervising elections, as well as overseeing the financial activities of political parties. According to Hassin Tetteh, this dual responsibility creates a problematic overlap that may hinder effective monitoring and enforcement of political finance laws. To address these concerns, the OSP is proposing the creation of an independent regulatory body that will be tasked with monitoring and regulating the financing of political parties.
We are of the opinion that the current system where the Electoral Commission is both a referee and a regulator must be abandoned. Ghana should explore the establishment of an independent political party finance audit committee, similar to that of Norway. So this committee would perform functions separately from the organization of the election, and we think that the body should consist of representatives from the Audit Service, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and say the judiciary. And this committee can be headed by a judge.
Meanwhile, CDD Ghana is attributing the opaque nature of campaign financing to a number of factors, including the no definitive period for campaigning, the abuse of incumbency, and the absence of election campaign financing regulation to monitor the source of campaign funds.
Also very concerned about money that's coming from illicit sources. The CDD study put that in context. Vote by now is done in the open. There's a law against it. And of course, the big one unregulated financing of candidates. As you see, our current legal framework does not capture candidates.
Deputy Electoral Commissioner Dr. Bosman Asare called for transparency in the financing of political campaigns.
What we are basically saying is that transparency and accountability are very, very central in a democracy. If we want to make progress as a country in our democracy, transparency is very, very important, just as accountability. They are equally important in the operations of political parties. That's why even our constitution stresses that the internal structures of political parties must reflect democratic practices, and this is very, very central.
CDD Ghana says it will publish its findings on the amount of monies spent on political campaigns in the 2024 elections soon.
We have more news for you right after this break. Stay tuned. At a development, a task force of the Minerals Development Fund has cracked down on some illegal mining sites around the Atetemu Basic School in the Ashanti region. 12 excavators and other pumping machines were seized in the process, with 3 suspected, including a teenager, arrested. Apart from the dangers posed by the activity on the lives of learners, noise from the site makes teaching and learning difficult. Naya Ojima has more in this report.
The Atetemu Basic School has the junior high school and primary directly opposite each other, with a road going through them. At the time of the visit by the Minerals Development Fund, learning activities had halted because excavators of the illegal miners were in motion just behind the school. My name is Abena Yeboah. We are very worried about the education of our wards. Elders in our village and the unit committee have complained about the distraction, but they wouldn't listen. The former MP, Katie Hammond, asked them to stop, but they wouldn't. So this illegal mining site is sited just behind the basic school, about 50 meters away from the basic school, and this is causing a lot of harm to the community and also the school. Large tracts of farmland at Atetemu is heavily destroyed by the illegal mining activities. The Jimmy and Subi rivers, which flow through the community, are destroyed by the illegal mining activities. The devastation has resulted in the loss of livelihoods for the community. They are destroying our community. They keep disconnecting our electricity. The perpetrators of the crime took to their heels upon knowledge of the team's presence. One person was arrested at the site. Subsequently, some Chinese nationals were tracked to their hideout where weapons and ammunition were picked. These Chinese nationals took the team to their mining site where a cocoa farm had been destroyed for mining activities. Administrator of the Minerals Development Fund, Dr. Hanabisiu, who led the operations, expressed disappointment at the destruction done to the school's compound.
To humanity, to president and to the country, and to my background as somebody who was in a village and was given a chance. So I don't know how many presidents are here. I don't know how many chief executive officers are here. I don't know how many members of parliament are here. Doctors, nurses, engineers, police, soldiers, what have you, journalists. Think about it. If we don't give them a chance, as I was given a chance, then we do not have any hope for Ghana. A river has been destroyed. The forest is being destroyed all around their school. So the fear, we want to just think the fear that these children will be passing through, the fear that the teachers will be passing through, the noise and all that. How would they concentrate? And how do you expect such a child to grow up to the highest potential that God has actually embedded in his being?
Meanwhile, there is uneasiness among illegal miners within the area. Dr. Hanabisiu again.
What you see out there, you see what we hear, and to the viewers, what you hear, or probably what you see, is nothing Nothing at all compared to what you experience. Because what I've realized is that the pits we see, when you see them in videos, it looks like some shallow place. Our villages are being eaten away. We are not against mining. We are against illegal and irresponsible mining.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Now from Kumasi, let's go to the Volta region. The School of Hygiene in the Volta region, regional capital of Ho, is demanding the release of an infrastructure originally allocated to it being occupied by the University of Health and Allied Sciences. The school's representative council stressed that the facility, when released, would help facilitate accreditation of the institution by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to offer degree programs. The student body staged a demonstration to protest the delay in the release of the over 13-unit lecture hall. Fred Kwame Asare has more in this report.
The School of Hygiene, established about 50 years ago, has suffered a great infrastructure deficit since its inception. This has led to the students making use of corridors, underthrees, and other open spaces for study. Some students lamented the situation.
So as you can see, some of our colleagues, they are just on the corridor learning because of lack of facilities. Whilst we have about 30 classroom blocks lying there that US is using as for a different purpose.
Fracture. In fact, as I speak now, most of our colleagues study under trees, mango trees. When rain is falling, then we have to automatically, close for the section. So it's very challenging.
The school's representative council indicated that the inadequate infrastructure challenges are hindering the progress of the institution. However, the school is up in arms with the University of Health and Allied Sciences to release a one-story infrastructure originally allocated to the School of Hygiene. The students staged a peaceful demonstration to protest the supposed refusal of UHAS management to release the structure.
Current Diploma 3 students are being denied their mandatory national service due to inadequate facilities and amenities to attain accreditation. Unlike other allied health institutions, our students have over 3 years of unpaid allowances due to the same accreditation issues from GTEC. Because of that, we are not recognized as health training institutions. Understood, our school's management have met with the UHAS management 3 consecutive times for a dialogue and collaboration to resolve these matters peacefully and sustainably, and yet has yielded no results. Madam the Vice Chancellor of UHAS, can't you see that we are suffering? We are really suffering. We are hereby giving UHAS management an ultimatum of 3 weeks to vacate the premise and also sign a memorandum of understanding on it to that regard.
The Director of Works and Physical Development of UHAS, Ruth Holadem Ayite, who received the petition, promised to forward it to the appropriate quarters for redress.
And thank you for coming here in a very peaceful manner, escorted by the police, to your next door neighbors, UHAS. We have received your petition, we submit it to management, and definitely we will not overlook it. UHAS is your neighbor, and we are neighborly. We behave in a neighborly fashion. And we are not greedy as you think.
The student body is pleading with the government and all relevant institutions to step in and ensure the facility is released to the School of Hygiene. Fred Kwame Asare, JoyNews.
Now, the Central Regional Minister has ordered the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly to urgently demolish weak and dangerous buildings across the city. This follows the third building collapse in Cape Coast within a week. Abigail Essel reports.
The Central Regional Minister, Honorable Eko Peyin on Friday visited the sites in Cape Coast where buildings have collapsed and resulted in 3 deaths. In an engagement with the media, the minister indicated that this is a period for strict actions to prevent further casualties.
So we've ordered that the remaining buildings should be brought down as early as possible so we can have arrangement with the family to see how best we can assist. In the meantime, we have asked that they move them to the building down there. I think that's the Anafo Market. in the meantime, so they can be there for a while we arrange with the family to see how best we can come to their assistance. So it's unfortunate, and I think that I agree with you, Chief Executive, that is the time you need to identify all these, structures that are weak. Let's have a negotiation with the families and support them to bring them down.
Paying a courtesy call to the Oguamahin, the minister also appealed to the traditional authorities to desist from interfering in the demolition process. The Cape Coast MC, George Justice Arthur, assured that he will do his bit to protect the people of Cape Coast and their properties.
My responsibility as a mayor of Cape Coast is to ensure that we sanitize the system, we protect lives and property of our people within the metropolis. So count it from me. As an action man, we will make sure we take the necessary action to bring sanity into the system. So far, we have demolished about 10 buildings, and we are embarking on 2 major exercises. One is restoration and one is demolition. And there are some other structures that have historical underpinning. So that one, we will make sure we collaborate with the relevant agencies together with the members of parliament to see to their restoration. And we will make sure we restore them.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Nkrumah reports for JoyNews.
Now, away from that, for decades, children born with cleft lip and palate across Ghana and much of Africa have lived in the shadows, stigmatized, isolated, and in many cases, dangerously misunderstood. But a historic step has been taken to rewrite what narrative in Africa. The Konfanoti Teaching Hospital, in partnership with the Ghana Cleft Foundation and Global Cleft Charity Smart Train, has commissioned the continent's first national cleft care center. Irabuna Akwe report.
Ultra-modern facility has an outpatient department and consulting rooms, 4 theaters with pre-operative and post-operative wards, laboratories, stores, lecture halls, a library, technical services working area, and a playground. Fully funded by Small Train at a cost of $2 million, the facility is located within the precinct of CAT and is designed to offer corrective surgery and a full spectrum of comprehensive cleft care, including nutrition support, speech therapy, orthodontics, oral health, and psychosocial counseling. Acting head of the new center and consultant oral and maxillofacial surgeon, Dr. Solomon Obriyebwa, noted.
And there's a lot of stigma about these children because there's sort of a defect or a deformity on their face. And because of the incomplete formation of the lip, there's a gap. And that because of that gap, they can't come out. They can't go to school, and we have situations where parents were actually excommunicated from a community just because they gave birth to a child with cleft. We have situations where a child was born with cleft and he was going to be sacrificed to the river god because they thought that he's coming from the river god. But these are all not true. A child born with cleft is as normal as anybody.
For years, cleft conditions in many African communities have been falsely linked to curses, spiritual punishment, or bad omens. But the facility at CAT signals a bold new chapter.
That every child who is born with a cleft deserves to live a full and healthy life. And that we do by providing free, safe, high-quality, comprehensive cleft care, which science has proven that is the second commonest congenital malformation in the world. As a matter of fact, 1 in every 1,200 of African or African descent is born with a cleft.
Ashanti Regional Minister Dr. Franka Mwakohene, speaking at the ceremony, emphasized the deeper meaning behind the center's opening.
This event is not just a ceremony, but it is a celebration of compassion, science, and an enduring commitment to our health equity. Today is not just cutting of a ribbon, but we are opening a door to opportunity, to inclusion, and to the reaffirmation of every child's right to smile without shame and to live without stigma.
Among the most moving moments were the testimonies from patients and families whose lives have been transformed.
I was born with a condition that made me a different. I underwent several surgeries that changed my life. Thanks to the incredible people who stood by me, I now boldly smile just like everyone else.
The event was attended by health professionals, government officials, patients, children, and parents from across Africa, all united by a shared goal to end the silence, dispel the myths, and replace stigma with smiles. For Joy News, Erabna Akwi, Kumase.
And now to our first business story. The Bank of Ghana's professional assessment has come under intense scrutiny after the central bank reversed its decision to terminate the appointment of nearly 100 staff members who were dismissed for failing to meet the bank's work standards. The staff who were let go in June 2025 due to unsatisfactory performance during their probationary period were recalled after a management meeting in June 26, 2025. Speaking on the development, senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, called on the central bank to work at minimizing any reputational risks as a result of the reinstatement.
Yes, it may come as a surprise considering the letters that came out that these individuals will not meet the performance standard, and for that matter, their services were no longer needed after the probation period. Just for us to see what appears to be a U-turn in that decision, and this time around, it is to give them a second chance. So you may want to look at it as Bank of Ghana demonstrating some level of compassion and fairness, trying to give these individuals another chance. And also, it could be that Bank of Ghana want to address some of the assessment gaps that they may have identified that may have led to what may appear to have been an unfair assessment of these individuals. But of course, what it also portrays is that the central bank standard in terms of assessment is coming under scrutiny, because why didn't they identify this weakness ahead of time? And why was it not addressed right from the word go down to come out with the indication that their services are no longer needed, just for us to have this U-turn that we are seeing. Now, when these individuals get back again to work, how would the atmosphere be for those who were initially selected? They thought they were qualified. Of course, I'm not saying they have been denied, but then this group of individuals are also being given a second chance. Does it mean that we are lowering the standard for those who are getting the second chance? And what signal does it send within the Bank of Ghana work environment? I think BOG must find a way of handling some of this so that going forward, we don't have repetitions where some individuals may go through the probationary process fair and square, and it just happened that others will be given another second chance for them to come and try. Sometimes can create workplace tension, and you don't want that to happen, especially for a regulator like the Bank of Ghana. Reputational risk is at stake, and you must always try to protect the reputation of institutions like the Bank of Ghana.
That's all for the news here on Newsroom. For more news, visit myjoyonline.com. And don't forget, at 7 p.m., we'll still bring you the JoyNews Impact Makers Awards, which will be coming live here on the channel. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.